Erica is a devoted housekeeper, used to hiding in the shadow of a luxurious mansion. But one day she reveals the dirty secret of the hostess of the house, who is cheating on her devoted husband. Karma in action. The doorbell rang loudly. Nadine's voice echoed from deep within the mansion, somewhere past the living room. "Erica, someone's at the door." "Yes, ma'am," Erica responded. She frowned as she made her way to the entrance, quietly thinking, "Do you think I'm deaf?" "I answer the door every day." She smoothed her hands over her apron and adjusted the sleeves of her long-sleeved white button-down blouse. Her outfit was completed with loose black trousers and comfortable flats. This wasn't her usual attire for cleaning her own apartment, where she wore sweatpants and a worn t-shirt, her hair tied back with a bandana instead of the neat French braid she sported at work. Nevertheless, her uniform was appropriate for her role as a maid. She was relieved that she had never been required to wear the infamous lacy black and white miniskirt and revealing top, which had disappointed Thomas, her son Brady's roommate, when they visited from college. A smile crossed her face as she recalled the disappointed expression on the young man's face when he saw her in her uniform. In the kitchen, she had heard Thomas comment, "I thought she'd be wearing, the intimacy kind." "Yeah, I don't want to see that," Brady had replied. "That's okay, she's still attractive." "Shut up, idiot, that's my mom." Concerns about such situations had weighed on Erica when she first applied for the position. She had heard unsettling stories about domestic workers dealing with wealthy families and the potential complications that could arise. She had assumed that such attire might invite unwanted advances from the head of the household. However, that never happened. Edward Blanton always treated her with respect and professionalism. While she was aware that she was his housekeeper and he was her employer, their interactions remained strictly work-related. He appreciated Erica's hard work, and her bonuses were generous. Edward never made any inappropriate remarks toward her, perhaps because his attention was always on Nadine. Although Erica respected and liked Edward as her employer, she couldn't stand his wife, Nadine. Her father, a particularly gruff man, would have described Nadine as someone who was born with a silver spoon up her ass. Nadine, at least 20 years younger than her husband, who was in his 60s, was vain, arrogant, condescending, and frugal. Qualities that Erica actually admired. She had witnessed Nadine's harsh and vindictive side, which so far had never been directed at her. Needing the job and its good pay, Erica often bit her lip, frequently responded with, "Yes, ma'am," and then went home to work out on the heavy bag in Brady's bedroom. As she reached the front door, Erica sighed. Edward was oblivious to the reality of his wife's true nature. Whenever he managed to step away from his corporate boardroom duties, he showered Nadine with attention and effectively gave her a blank check to do as she pleased. He was a good man, but he was far from the first decent person married to a narcissist, and like most narcissists, Nadine had perfected the art of showing her husband only what she wanted him to see. She swung open the door, unveiling another Beverly Hills socialite around Nadine's age. Julie Hastings was flawlessly manicured and styled, dressed in trendy outfits, wearing sunglasses that likely cost thousands, and sporting a diamond pendant probably worth more than what Erica earned in a year. Her Botox-enhanced lips and peroxide blonde hair completed the cliched look, almost making Erica laugh. She nodded politely to the guest. "Good afternoon, Ms. Hastings." "Good afternoon, dear." Julie walked in as if she was expected, which she was. "I'm not late, am I?" "No, ma'am. You're the first one here." Erica chose to ignore the woman's patronizing use of dear towards someone a decade her senior. There was no advantage in addressing it. "Ms. Blanton will be hosting in the solarium today. Would you like me to introduce you?" "No, thank you. I know the way." Julie proceeded further into the house. Just as she was nearing the living room, Nadine appeared from another room. The two women exchanged feigned warmth, offering formal hugs and awkward air kisses on each other's cheeks. They immediately began complimenting each other's fashionable outfits. Erica despised the insincerity, but didn't concern herself with the theatrics of middle-aged trophy wives. She returned to the kitchen, where she had started arranging trays of appetizers and light desserts for the event. Most of the preparations had been handled by Francesca, the Blanton family's plump Hispanic cook, but she was away that day for her granddaughter's baptism. Erica recalled Nadine's frustration when Francesca requested the day off, explaining that it was the day of the Shrub Foundation's planning meeting and they needed catering services. Edward had responded that family was important and granted Francesca the day off. Despite her husband undermining her, Nadine had eventually conceded, though Erica sensed she still held a grudge. Francesca had prepared most of the items in advance and left instructions for the remaining tasks. Erica had given Francesca a small gift for her child, embraced her, and wished her well. As more guests arrived, mostly affluent society members with plenty of time and money to spare, Erica sighed while listening to the conversations and light laughter in the solarium. She believed in charity and helping others, but she felt that the charities Nadine and her peers were involved in seemed more focused on socializing and appearing compassionate than actually making a difference. For instance, the Shrub Foundation aimed to plant more greenery in public spaces for beautification and to prevent soil erosion. In the 6 months they had been meeting, Erica doubted they had planted a single tree. She glanced at the clock. 10:49. Nadine had instructed that catering begin promptly at 11. Erica double-checked everything, and all seemed in order. The last tray of crab cakes was in the broiler, and she needed to slice the 2 loaves of sourdough bread. Just as she reached for the bread knife, the doorbell rang again. Erica walked briskly into the hallway to answer it. The door swung open, unveiling a 6-foot-tall blond man with striking blue eyes and a ruggedly handsome demeanor, dressed impeccably in a tailored suit. Despite his good looks, he bore a smug expression that immediately made Erica wary whenever she encountered him. Still, she acknowledged him with a nod. "Good morning, Mr. Decker. Please come in." "Thank you, Erica." She fought the urge to shudder. His voice and the lingering gaze made her feel uneasy, as if his eyes left a slimy trail wherever they went. However, since he worked for Edward, she couldn't accuse him unless Decker directly made advances or behaved inappropriately. While he never did that, he merely observed her. But his presence here indicated... Erica offered a genuine smile this time. "They're in the solarium, sir, and about ready to begin. Would you like me to escort you there?" "Please do." She guided John Decker deeper into the house, aware of his eyes on her backside, but managed to disregard it. Upon reaching the door, she signaled him inside. Decker responded with a frosty smile and walked in. Erica returned to the front of the house, ignoring the joyful giggles from the women inside, the hens clucking over their proud rooster. She paused at the entryway and glanced through the side window. As expected, he stood by the tinted windows of Decker's limousine, dressed in his black suit. He lit a cigarette, took a drag, and exhaled slowly. Even from afar, his boredom was evident. Erica quickly went back to the kitchen to complete her preparations, keeping one eye on the clock. At exactly 11, she carried the trays to the solarium and arranged them on the ornate carved sideboard. Nadine's guests approached to serve themselves. Erica heard numerous compliments directed at Nadine from the attendees, who beamed with pride, as if Nadine had personally prepared the bread and shelled the nuts herself. After a brief period and only a few trips, she had brought all the food inside. She quickly inspected the drink bar that had been set up before the guests arrived, and everything seemed sufficient. Erica glanced at Nadine, who ignored her and then stepped back. From past painful experiences, she knew not to address the mistress of the house in public unless spoken to first. If Nadine needed anything at that moment, she would have been looking at Erica, waiting for a response. With the immediate tasks completed, she opened the front door. Instantly, a man turned his head in her direction. Erica looked behind and, seeing the hallway empty, signaled for him to enter. He smiled at her, crushed his cigarette under his heel, and approached the door. Erica watched him come closer. When he reached the porch, she greeted him, "Hi, Peter. How are you?" He shrugged. Same old, same old. Come into the kitchen. I think I have enough left to prepare you a meal. In reality, Erica had reserved some food in case Peter had driven Decker. What are you drinking today? I'm driving, so just water. Thanks, though. They moved into the kitchen. Peter removed his cap and placed it on the counter. Erica took the plastic-wrapped containers from the refrigerator and arranged the food on a plate for him. She kept an eye on him from the corner of her eye. Peter Chang, of medium height and lanky build, looked sharp in his chauffeur's black jacket, pants, white shirt, and thin tie. To Erica, his mixed Caucasian and Chinese heritage gave him striking features from both backgrounds. His handsome face seemed timeless. Although she knew Peter was in his early 50s, he could easily be mistaken for someone in their 30s. Thinking about it, Erica touched her braid. It was still dark, but the first gray strands were beginning to show. Although she hadn't exactly invited him into the house, a place that wasn't hers, Erica considered it a minor risk. The Blantons had always advised her to show hospitality to their guests. If Peter was seen in the kitchen, she would explain it as him needing to use the restroom. She handed him the plate. Eat up. A growing boy like you needs his nutrition. Peter scoffed. Sure. The only thing I'm growing now is around the waist. He took the plate. Erica looked down. You're what? 30 inches at the waist? 32? I think you could use a few pounds. He took a bite of a garden chicken wrap. You're just the kindest person. First you feed me and then you boost my ego. A girl tries. They chatted briefly while Peter ate. Every 15 minutes on the dot, she returned to the solarium to check if she was needed or if anything needed restocking. She collected a few plates, but otherwise, everything was fine. Nadine and her group had started discussing buying trees and hedges to plant. Erica noticed there was about 30 seconds of work for every 5 minutes of conversation. On each trip, she caught Decker looking at her. When she returned to the kitchen after her second errand, Peter was leaning against the counter, gently massaging his stomach. Erica couldn't help but smile at the sight. Ever since she casually mentioned that he never had a proper meal break while working, she had made it a point to bring him something whenever Decker visited, which was frequently. Franny had been a great help, sometimes preparing a small meal for Peter and even teasing Erica about her boyfriend. Although Erica always blushed and dismissed the comments, she admitted that her day felt a bit brighter with Peter around. After finishing his meal, Peter said, "Thank you, Erica. It was delicious. I'll let Franny know you liked it. She handled most of the preparation." "I just warmed it up," Erica replied. "It's still tasty." He lifted his plate. "What should I do with this?" "Oh, I'll take it." She quickly moved forward, grabbed his plate, and placed it in the dishwasher. "All set." "Thanks. How's your son doing?" "He's doing great. He made the dean's list for the second consecutive semester. He's excelling. In 2 more years, I'll have a college graduate for a son." She placed her hand on her forehead, closed her eyes, and added dramatically, "Oh, the struggles of aging." Peter shrugged. "You're not that old." "On days like today, I feel like I'm 49, she joked. "You don't look 49. Erica's ears perked up. "Really?" Peter maintained a serious expression. "Yeah, 47 at most. She laughed and tossed a dish rag his way, though gently. No wonder you're single. No one would want to handle that sharp tongue. I know. Speaking of marriage, how long do you think the Save the World Committee will be meeting today? I'm not sure. I know Mrs. Blanton has nothing scheduled for the rest of the day. Why? He took a deep breath. Because I need to take Mrs. Decker Wallace to her physical therapy this afternoon, and Mr. Decker gets upset if he has to take a taxi or use a rideshare service. The poor girl, Erica murmured. Amanda Decker Wallace was a lovely, petite blonde woman in her early 30s. Erica had only met her once but found her to be quite friendly. Unfortunately, Amanda had developed a severe peroneal nerve palsy in both legs. While milder forms are common among those who spend a lot of time squatting, Amanda's condition had an unknown cause and left her unable to walk without assistance. The Wallaces were affluent and had the finest doctors attending to her. Although her prognosis was positive, her recovery had been slow and limited so far. Erica had overheard the Blantons discussing Amanda's situation and received additional information from Peter, who chauffeured Amanda to physical therapy 3 times a week. Peter was officially employed by the Wallace family rather than by John Decker. This arrangement allowed him to leave the husband to drive Amanda without issues. But it didn't simplify his interactions with Decker. Erica understood his desire to avoid complications whenever possible. Peter stretched and said, "Her appointment is at 2, so to have enough time to get Mr. Decker to the office and return to her house, he needs to leave by 12:30 at the latest to ensure she arrives on time." He sighed and added, "So that's another hour." Erica pressed her lips together, knowing that the social event in the other room could easily last that long. Peter suddenly smiled again. "Are you still painting?" "Yes." "I sure am." Erica's excitement grew. She had been trying her hand at oil painting by following old Bob Ross shows, with moderate success. Brady had been patient and talked to her about it, though she could tell her son was just being polite and wasn't genuinely interested. She understood. Her own mother used to talk to her about cross-stitch to the point where Erica felt frustrated. However, she didn't hold it against her son. He was a good kid who supported her in many ways, and their relationship was strong. He just didn't share her interest in crafts. Conversely, Peter appeared genuinely interested and consistently asked about her latest endeavors. Whenever she showed him photos of her paintings, he provided both feedback and encouragement. She never felt his support was merely superficial. On the rare occasions he didn't like something, he was upfront about it, and Erica valued his honesty. She sometimes wondered if Peter was being nice solely because he was interested in her romantically, but then dismissed that thought, considering she might actually be open to him. They continued their conversation for a few more moments before Erica heard approaching voices. She pointed towards the small bathroom adjacent to the kitchen. Peter nodded, went inside, and closed the door. Erica dried her hands and moved into the hallway. Nadine and another woman walked to the front. Since it was a bright, sunny day, none of the guests had brought an umbrella or coat for Erica to store in the closet. Additionally, because the hostess was escorting their guest to the exit, Erica didn't need to come out and say anything. The two paused at the door and exchanged another series of stiff, fake hugs. The other woman left. Nadine looked around and spotted Erica. "We need another bottle of champagne." Without saying a word, she headed back toward the solarium. Erica went to the wine closet to retrieve it. She had heard Edward Blanton tell his wife to cut back on the champagne and stop wasting it with her friends, but Erica wasn't going to defy the wife's clear instructions. Nadine would have to deal with any consequences with her husband. She rummaged through the drawer until she found a lever-style corkscrew. "You know," Peter said from the entrance of the bathroom, "I bet I could, like in the movies, chop the top off that with a long knife." She smirked at him. "You'd probably end up cutting off your fingers instead. Just wait there until I get back." His soft laughter followed her as she left the kitchen. She placed the champagne in the ice bucket, removed the empty bottle, glanced at Nadine to see if anything else was needed, and returned to the kitchen. "So where were we?" "You were imagining giving sympathy for my soon-to-be missing hand." "How was I doing that?" "Use your imagination." Erica giggled and blushed. A small part of her mind scolded her for acting like an excited schoolgirl, but the rest of her was too much having fun to care. They continued their conversation for another 30 minutes, only stopping when Erica made her rounds to check the solarium or when a guest departed with Nadine. Except for the initial visit, Nadine hadn't spoken to Erica, which Erica found perfectly acceptable. She was relieved that it was nearly over. The kitchen was a mess that would take some time to clean, but she still believed she could finish her responsibilities by 5 o'clock. Nadine escorted one last woman to the door and bid her farewell. She glanced into the kitchen. "Mr. Decker and I need a few minutes, Erica. We've finished eating, so there's no need for you to check on us anymore." "Yes, ma'am." Peter came out again, his brows furrowed. "He's going to delay us, I'm sure of it." "Maybe he won't." They continued to exchange light-hearted remarks. Peter mentioned his new drone that he had purchased and test-flown the day before. Erica smiled at his comment. "So boys never part with their toys, huh? They just end up getting more expensive?" He laughed. "It's kind of like little girls who play with doll houses and keep dreaming of the suburban home with the white picket fence, right? Same idea, just bigger toys." She chuckled. "Point taken." They chatted for a few more minutes. Peter checked his watch. "It's 12:25. I hope he's going to be ready." "I can—" Erica began to respond but stopped herself. She had intended to offer to walk back and inform Decker that Peter was waiting so they could retrieve his wife. It was probably the morally right thing to do, but it would also mean overstepping her authority and could likely result in her being fired, which she couldn't afford, especially with a son in college that required all her financial resources. Fortunately, Peter sensed her intention. He shook his head. "No, I don't want you to get in trouble for being too presumptuous, or whatever others might say. If he doesn't show up soon, I'll just have to go myself." Erica pressed her lips together, still feeling the urge to help. "All right, I'll head downstairs to check on things. Maybe they're finishing up." He appeared doubtful. "Just a quick look." "Okay, but make sure you stay out of trouble." She smiled. "I will." As Erica moved forward, her expression darkened. The sturdy wooden sliding door that separated the sunroom from the hallway was closed tightly. She stopped outside and listened. A faint sound reached her ears. Someone sounded hurt. She reached for the handle to open the door. Just as her fingers touched the brass knob, a troubling thought crossed her mind. Her eyes widened. Number it couldn't be. She carefully opened the door a crack without making a sound. Instantly, the noise from inside became more noticeable. Erica glanced inside and quickly looked away, shocked. Nadine Blanton was with John Decker, and the closeness between them made it clear that something was going on that shouldn't have been. Erica stood there, stunned and disappointed. Her thoughts drifted to Amanda, who was waiting for her husband to send their driver back, unaware of what he was doing. And to Edward, who would return home to kiss his wife, not knowing what had just occurred. Nadine's hands pressed against the solarium glass. Erica noted that it was Monday, and the groundskeepers were off that day. No one was around in the backyard. She noticed Nadine leaving fingerprints on the glass, something she knew she would have to clean later. Strangely, this thought annoyed her slightly, the oddness almost making her laugh. The increasing intensity of the sounds prompted Erica to act. She realized with fear that she might be noticed. They were positioned slightly away from the door, but if Decker turned his head, he would see her. Anxiety gripped Erica. She realized that losing her job might not be her only concern. How might Decker react? Even if nothing physical happened, it would be her word, the perspective of a working-class employee, against theirs, that of the wealthy elite. Erica had no idea how such a situation would resolve. She closed the door quietly. There was a soft thud as the wood shut, but the sounds from inside continued. Erica made her way back up the hallway as silently as possible. Peter was leaning against the countertop, engrossed in his phone when she walked in. Upon noticing Erica's worried expression, his smile disappeared, replaced by a serious look. "Erica? What's going on?" "Decker, they—" "Excuse me?" She took a deep breath. "Decker was with Nadine, and it's bad." "What?" He quickly stood up from his relaxed position. "Are you serious?" "I didn't watch for long because I didn't want to be noticed, but I know what I saw." How could he treat Amanda like this, especially with everything she's dealing with? She's such a great person. She doesn't deserve any of this. "I know." Erica hugged herself, thinking of Edward Blanton and feeling a surge of empathy. Edward is a good guy and an excellent boss. Even though I might think she's unstable, he absolutely adores Nadine. This is going to break his heart. Peter stared at the wall for a moment. "Erica, you can't tell him." She frowned. "What are you saying? I'm not going to let that happen." He raised his hand. "I'm not saying that either of them should get away with it. But right now it's just your word against theirs. You didn't take any photos or anything, did you?" "No, I didn't. I thought that if they caught me watching, no one would believe me and I'd lose my job, so I left." She glanced toward the solarium. "It's too risky to go back now." "I agree." He stepped closer, placing his hands on her shoulders and meeting her gaze. "I'm with you, Erica. We're going to bring them down, but we'll do it carefully, okay? Just stay under the radar and wait for the right moment. Act like you don't know anything around her. Can you do that?" Erica nodded. "I think so. Besides, you weren't close with her anyway, so this shouldn't change much. Just stay alert. I'll do the same. Let me think over the plan. We'll handle this together." Peter let go of her, pulled his wallet from his pocket, and handed her a card. "Call me in a day or two, and we'll figure out the next steps." "I will. In the meantime, you should get going." He checked his watch. "Yeah. This time, I don't feel bad about leaving. Call me." Peter turned to leave, but Erica placed a hand on his arm. He looked back as she smiled, leaned in, and gave him a light hug. "Thank you." He returned her smile and quickly exited through the front door. Erica tidied up the kitchen, keeping an eye on the time. It was nearly 1 o'clock when she heard voices in the hallway. Nadine and Decker walked past the front door into the kitchen on their way to the entryway. She heard the front door open, a muffled curse, and hurried footsteps approaching. She focused on scrubbing one of the pans. Nadine entered the kitchen with Decker following closely behind. "Erica? Did you see John's driver? Did he say anything to you?" She briefly considered saying she hadn't seen Peter, but the security cameras would show he'd entered the house. Erica replied, He came in to use the restroom. We just said hello, but he mentioned he couldn't stay. Something about an appointment." Decker grimaced. "Amanda, that's right. Nadine, can you call me a cab?" "Of course. Erica, please take care of it." Nadine led Decker out of the room. Erica sighed and reached for the house phone. Her phone buzzed with a notification. Erica glanced at it and smiled to herself. It was Peter calling. She checked the timer on the elliptical and saw she had 5 minutes left of her hour-long cardio session. Forget it. She smoothly came to a stop and answered her phone. "Hi, Peter." "Hey, how are you?" "Just in the workout room at my apartment complex, wrapping up my routine." She got off the machine and made her way to the stairs. I'm all sweaty now, so it's time for a long hot shower. I think I'll just stand under it for a bit and let the water wash over me." Peter paused for a moment. "That's quite a scene. You really know how to throw a guy off his prepared lines." Erica laughed softly. She noticed she had been doing this more often since she and Peter began their project, which they had named Operation Bust the Jerks. They had been sharing updates every few days, and whenever they uncovered something they could use against Nadine and John, she found herself reaching out to him more frequently. "Well, I definitely don't intend to distract you from your mission." He let out a hearty laugh. "Oh, come on, you don't mean that. It's fine, I don't mind the imagery." She turned red. "Good, because I don't have anything for us." For weeks, they had been monitoring the unfaithful couple without finding any evidence. They had attempted to listen in on conversations using their phone's recording features, but had come up empty-handed. When Erica suggested trying to hack into John's or Nadine's phones to search for incriminating texts or to install tracking software, Peter dismissed the idea. Aside from the risk of losing his job, he pointed out that such actions could lead to criminal charges, and Erica had to admit he was likely right. From her observations, Nadine had a few unexplained absences that made Erica suspect she might be meeting John, but these incidents occurred away from the house. Peter reported similar findings during the times he was taking Amanda to her appointments. Erica had grown increasingly frustrated and began second-guessing their approach. She often wondered if they should have simply informed Edward and Amanda, letting events unfold naturally. At the same time, Erica found herself able to spend more time with Peter. They met once or twice each week at her apartment to share updates. Their discussions often drifted from frustrations about Nadine and John's activities to more personal topics. There were brief moments where the conversation would trail off as they locked eyes, but they would quickly refocus, steering back to work. Each instance left Erica a bit flustered, and she found herself feeling strangely self-conscious. Peter's next statement brought her back to the present moment. "Anyway, I called because I might have something for us." Erica set aside her thoughts, trying not to appear too eager. "Oh, really? What? Are you aware of the Shrub Foundation's plans for Memorial Day?" Erica remembered Nadine's big scheme to organize a benefit event as a fundraiser for the foundation. Nadine had intended to host it at her home and was getting quite intense with the preparations. Influential figures from Los Angeles' social scene had been invited, including a leader from a prominent organization that builds homes for low-income families, aiming to set up a local collaboration. The event was already being touted as one of the year's major gatherings. Consequently, Nadine had nearly lost her composure. She was meticulous about every detail, and Erica found herself managing 3 new temporary workers just to keep the place spotless to Nadine's standards. She even felt sympathy for the groundskeeping crew, many of whom had been let go for not following instructions or for not meeting Nadine's seemingly arbitrary demands. The whole pre-event frenzy was starting to wear on Erica's patience. These thoughts flashed through Erica's mind in an instant. She ground her teeth. "Yeah, I'm fully aware of it." "She's driving you crazy, isn't she?" "Completely insane." Peter laughed. "Well, apparently she's been talking with John about it. He's involved in the arrangements, probably trying to make himself look useful by working with his boss's wife." "That's not all he's getting involved in," Erica muttered. "I overheard them talking today. They're planning a video montage for the benefit, something heartwarming about building homes and community projects, that sort of thing. It'll be on a loop on a big screen for everyone at the event to see." "Okay. Well, I was thinking, what if we swapped that footage with something a little more revealing?" Erica blinked. "What do you mean?" Apparently, John hinted to Nadine about sneaking away during the benefit, calling it the ultimate thrill, to disappear briefly while everyone was distracted. Nadine seemed to love the idea, laughing about how they'd be having their fun while others were focused on the event. She even mentioned an old garden house, calling it their little getaway. You know what she means? Yes, the house located at the far end of the gardens. Edward renovated it into a guest house about a year ago. It's a lovely little cottage where they occasionally host visitors. She considered this for a moment. Right. It's situated on the opposite side of the main house from where the benefit event is happening. So what's your plan? I have a, well, friend might be too strong a term, more like an acquaintance. Anyway, this guy is a computer expert. He specializes in setting up cameras for, blackmailing purposes. He typically catches people engaged in shady business dealings. He can wire the entire property so we can redirect the footage to the large screens and display everything that's going on. I asked him, and he said it would be straightforward and quick. How much would that cost? He doesn't even want money, just the ability to keep a copy of the footage. Peter's tone showed his distaste. When he realized our target was Nadine Blanton, he mentioned he could sell it for more than we could ever afford to pay him. Erica's lip curled. He sounds like a real gentleman. He's not, but it doesn't matter. Here's the best part, Peter said, and she could almost hear his grin through the phone. This guy also has access to some other illegal items. In this case, event-grade fireworks. He said that if we can get him on the premises, he can set up something that, when it goes off, will really scare them. They'll rush out in front of everyone. Trust me, I've seen some of the stuff he uses. They'll think the Air Force is bombing the place. You associate with a rough crowd, Peter. That's part of being a driver. I can't honestly say if I've driven for mobsters, but I've certainly worked for some people who know how to bend the law a bit. Anyway, I once saved this guy's life, and he owes me one. How did you do that? I'll explain over breakfast someday. Erica frowned. He arrived at her apartment and let himself in. This all sounds extremely complicated. I know. It seems like some wild scheme invented by a crazy writer with too much time on their hands. But I believe it will work. She hesitated for a moment before giving a slight shrug. Oh, fine. I'm in. What do you need from me? Let me contact my person. I'll need you to bring him to the location the day before to set everything up. Something else might come up before then, but otherwise just stay put and look presentable. I can handle that, Erica replied with a smile. You really believe we can pull this off, don't you? I do, he responded, his tone becoming more serious. Erica, I want to make an effort. I don't want to keep watching them get away with this. If you think we'd be better off just filming them and handing the footage over to Edward and Amanda, we can do that instead. That way, we wouldn't embarrass them publicly. Erica thought about it. She didn't want to disgrace her boss and Mrs. Decker-Wallace. The thought of them being humiliated by cheating would be tough enough, especially if it happened in front of everyone. I'm not sure. Maybe if they knew it was coming. She stopped, a smile forming as an idea clicked. Peter, did you happen to record that conversation between them? Of course, just like we discussed. Video? Yes. Perfect, Erica exclaimed with excitement. Here's what we're going to do. She laid out her plan for him. When she finished, Peter said, That's good. Do you think they'll go for it? I believe Edward will. Amanda? You tell me. I think I can convince her. Yeah, I like this. He paused. You've got quite the sharp mind. Good, Erica grinned, her voice slightly trembling. If it works, you can show your appreciation for my sharp mind and all my other qualities. Peter whistled. If I didn't know better, Erica, I'd think you were flirting with me. You don't know better because that's exactly what I'm doing, she replied, clearing her throat. Let's meet tomorrow to finalize all the details and make this happen so I can see this appreciation. Eric observed the lively event from the bay window of the solarium. Around the lawn and the set-up tents, 200 of Los Angeles's engaged residents mingled, brushing shoulders and exchanging stories. The soft buzz of conversations wafted through the open doors at the end of the hallway, along with the gentle music accompanying the promotional video that looped continuously on the massive screen. She questioned the effectiveness of such a strategy. Ideally, the video should have been shown once after the guests had a few drinks and the Shrub Foundation delivered a heartfelt speech. Then, the recording could be replayed when everyone's attention was fully captured, maximizing its emotional and financial impact. Instead, the video had been repeated so many times that the attendees had grown indifferent to it. She chuckled to herself. When did you become a public relations expert? Maybe it's just common sense. Or perhaps you're now criticizing everything Nadine does. Erica watched Julie Hastings flirt and frolic with the media technician, a slim young man barely older than her son. They had hired to operate the big screen. Hastings draped her arm around the man's neck and pressed her store-bought chest against him before they vanished. Even from a distance, Erica could clearly see his hand on her backside. Goodness, are any of these people faithful? The person she despised emerged from the crowd, her arm linked with Edward's. Although it was 11 in the morning and the fundraiser had only been going on for an hour, she had a slight sway to her walk that Erica recognized. The hostess was already quite tipsy. In contrast, Edward sported a stiff smile as he moved beside his wife. With his back straight as a rod, Edward nodded to their guests, but remained largely silent. Erica wondered what was on his mind. The sound of footsteps in the corridor caught her attention. She exited the solarium, accompanied the woman to the bathroom, and waited to see if she needed assistance before bringing her back. After ensuring everything remained tidy, she resumed her watch. As she approached the window, her phone buzzed with a message from Peter. "Targets on the move." She inhaled deeply. "Here we go." Erica departed the mansion and headed straight to the tent housing the audio and video gear for the main screen. She caught Edward's gaze and gave him a brief nod, which he acknowledged. Edward then walked over to Amanda, John's wife. Although Amanda frowned, she nodded and signaled to a few people nearby. The small group began to walk away, with Amanda using a cane while Edward supported her on one side and a towering man in a suit and sunglasses on the other. Erica felt sympathy for the two betrayed spouses. This situation would be incredibly tough for both of them. Thankfully, they have each other and their families for support. Inside the small tent, the AV equipment area was packed with consoles adorned with knobs and switches. Cables sprawled across the manicured grass like tangled spaghetti. Through the mesh window, she had a clear view of the main screen. Erica took out a folded sheet from her pants pocket, unfolded it, and repeated the words twice. Her hands trembled as she tried to remain composed. Her phone buzzed once more with another message. "They're in. Eyes in and on the house. Welcoming committee in position." Erica looked at the central console and identified the knob Peter had indicated. It was marked VSRC with the indicator set to 1. "I'm glad he showed me this. I would never have figured it out otherwise." She located the microphone as expected and placed her hand on the next dial labeled a /SRC. She switched it from 1 to 2. Immediately, the music from the speakers stopped. She then turned the VSRC knob to 2 as well. The video disappeared, replaced by a moving camera view of a small bungalow, surrounded by flower beds and neatly trimmed hedges. Even as Erica made the switch, the image wobbled and flickered before stabilizing. "Jesus, Peter, keep that thing steady," she complained. The drone's camera remained locked on its target. Erica took a deep breath, raised the microphone, and pressed the transmit button. Her eyes fixed on her script. "Ladies and gentlemen, please direct your attention to the big screen. Your host, Nadine Blanton, along with her Shrub Foundation colleague John Decker, are about to begin their presentation." She tapped the pre-written message on her phone. Visual confirmed. Go. The screen burst into a display of lights and colors as the secretly placed fireworks around the guest house were ignited. Some rotated on the ground, scattering sparks and flames throughout the gardens. Others launched into the sky, exploding above the rooftop. One even smashed through a window. Loud detonations echoed across the lawn, making Erica wince. If they were this loud where she stood, they must be deafening for the two lovers. She laughed to herself. I wonder how much they're enjoying their afternoon delight now. She glanced outside. The attendees alternated between watching the screen and the show unfolding on the roof. During a brief pause in the explosions, she heard someone shout, "Over there! Come on!" A few of the guests quickly left, while most continued to watch the screen. A savvy few, perhaps anticipating that something unpleasant was about to happen, headed toward the front of the estate and their waiting vehicles. The fireworks display continued without interruption. Peter had wanted to broadcast the interior cameras as well, but aside from potentially violating revenge PRN laws, Erica had pointed out that footage of Nadine and John would provide Edward and Amanda with excellent leverage in their divorces. Peter had conceded the point. Still, I hope his fireworks technician is getting his money's worth. It wouldn't upset me if that footage went public after the court cases were resolved. Two people entered the tent abruptly. The first was Julie Hastings, followed by the media technician. Hastings looked around, spotted Erica, and blinked in surprise. You? What are you doing out here? Working, Erica replied. Who the hell are you? The young man growled. Erica, I work for Mr. Blanton. She's the damn maid, Hastings spat, her face twisting with anger. She's ruining our benefit. Chris, fix it. Chris puffed out his chest and frowned, attempting to appear menacing, which almost made Erica laugh. She reached into her pocket and concealed the heavy object. He moved closer to her. Move aside. I report directly to Mr. Blanton, she responded. He's funding all of this, it's his property, and he authorized my actions. You need to back off. Chris! Hastings' voice escalated into a shout. He lunged toward her. Erica lifted her arm, pressed the stun gun against him, and pulled the trigger. There was a buzzing sound, and Chris stiffened before collapsing. Hastings yelled, You killed him. He'll recover in a few minutes, Erica retorted fiercely. He didn't want to get shocked. He shouldn't have tried to touch me. You. Hastings trembled, pointing a shaky finger at Erica. You'll lose your job because of this. Erica raised the device and took a step forward. Hastings let out a squeal and ran away. She lowered the stun gun and sniffed. Good riddance. Something moving on the screen caught her attention. The front door of the garden house opened and Nadine and John stumbled outside. John was still struggling to put on his pants while Nadine was buttoning her blouse. The camera zoomed in on the couple, clearly showing that she was holding her crumpled bra in one hand. It was obvious to anyone watching what they had been doing. As if triggered by their departure, the fireworks stopped. Erica laughed softly. In a way they had, since she was certain Peter had activated the kill switch. Nadine and John froze, staring at something. Edward, Amanda, and their group appeared at the edge of the screen as the camera pulled back. They approached the disheveled couple, stopping about 15 feet away. Although there was no sound, the event attendees watched the screen intently, captivated by the unfolding scene. A man and woman in sharp suits walked up to Nadine and John, each extending an envelope, one to John and one to Nadine. The moment Nadine glanced at hers, she collapsed to the ground. John, however, advanced toward Amanda. She shouted at him, waving her cane. Edward pointed at John and said something. John froze, and even through the lower resolution of the drone camera, Erica could see the color draining from his face. John's expression contorted with fury. He stepped forward again, but the towering man alongside Amanda positioned himself between them. The man's hand reached for his belt, clearly revealing a pistol holster. John paused, then turned and fled. Nadine lay sprawled on the ground. Edward shot her a final contemptuous glance and, supporting a now teary Amanda, walked away, leaving his soon-to-be ex-wife sobbing in the garden. Erica looked beyond them at the charred areas and smoldering fires scattered throughout the gardens, the aftermath of numerous fireworks explosions. She sighed, noting how everything was burned and ruined, much like their reputations, 2 marriages, and possibly more. She turned the VSRC dial to off, causing the feed to disappear. On a sudden impulse, she deviated from the script and activated the microphone again. "We appreciate your generosity to the Shrub Foundation. However, we kindly ask that you allow Mr. Blanton and Mrs. Decker-Wallace some time to process today's events. Thank you, and have a pleasant day." Shaken guests began moving toward the front of the house. Erica picked up her phone, navigated around the groaning Chris, and sent a text. "All done." The reply was quick. "Yep. Can I show you my appreciation now?" She smiled, a warm blush spreading across her face. Her fingers moved swiftly. "I'm counting on it." Erica gazed up at the ceiling fan, turning slowly. The cool breeze enveloped her, and her body felt a deep sense of calm. She let out a soft, satisfied sigh, a smile tugging at her lips. That's what happens when you're truly at peace. Peter had been as attentive as ever, ensuring she felt completely cherished. She couldn't help but shiver slightly, recalling the warmth and affection that filled the evening. The soft sound of water dripping caught her attention. Erica stood up, crossed her bedroom floor, and opened the bathroom door. Wisps of steam floated in the air. Peter was in the shower, his head lowered as hot water cascaded over his shoulders. She admired his presence and felt a rush of affection. Peter noticed her and blinked. "Hey, I thought you were too warm for a shower." She smiled, leaning in. "You're too wonderful to stay away from." They kissed gently, savoring the closeness. Erica picked up a bar of soap and washed her hands, cherishing the simple, quiet moment with him. Later, they found themselves in the kitchen. Peter wore a pair of shorts, and Erica had on a comfortable button-down shirt. They stood side by side, making a couple of sandwiches. Erica kept stealing glances at him. He caught her eyes and smiled. She blushed and returned to spreading mayo on the bread slices. Who would have thought things would turn out like this? She had worried that without their shared dislike for their employers, their interactions would fade and return to normal. Even as Nadine Blanton still dealt with her own struggles, Erica wondered what the future held for her and Peter. Peter clearly had no reservations. As soon as Erica returned to his apartment that day, he immediately pulled her close, lifted her up, and twirled her around, laughing in celebration of their shared success. The joy of the moment had melted away any lingering doubts, leading to many more delightful days spent together. Since then, Erica had practically been living with him. She had been concerned about how her son would react, but it turned out he was completely unfazed. Peter and Brady connected instantly and got along wonderfully, spending time flying Peter's drone and discussing Elon Musk's latest space projects. Brady even remarked to her, "It's too soon to tell, Mom, but I think he's a good guy." Erica chuckled at the memory. Her son had always been indifferent or cool toward her previous boyfriends, which only boosted her confidence about Peter. However, her smile faded as she checked the clock. After dinner, she would have to leave reluctantly, since the next day was Monday, marking the start of a new work week for both of them. Officially, Peter was on call 24/7, though his responsibilities had lessened considerably since John Decker was removed from the family. Likewise, Erica found her work easier without Nadine's influence over them. The divorces were messy and still ongoing. Nadine had tried to appeal to Edward, claiming it was all a mistake, but he stayed firm. Realizing the outcome, she attempted to void their prenup, but with Edward's resources and expertise, her efforts didn't succeed. Last Erica heard, Nadine had agreed to the divorce in exchange for a settlement and had moved away. Franny mentioned that Nadine was now on the East Coast, but as far as Erica was concerned, she was out of their lives. John had reacted more aggressively, attempting to damage Amanda and her family's reputation both publicly and on social media. This continued until he was found injured in the parking lot near his apartment. From the hospital, he claimed, through a written statement, that Amanda's father had sent people after him, but no evidence supported this. Their divorce was still going through the courts, and since Edward had fired John shortly after the incident, John's financial resources and options were limited. They had all been interviewed by the police about the fireworks display and the neighbors' complaints. Erica and Peter claimed they were unaware, as did Edward and Amanda. On that particular day, the estate's security cameras had unfortunately malfunctioned, resulting in no footage being captured. Erica suspected that the police were aware of more details than they were revealing. However, since the incident was isolated to a wealthy estate with no injuries and minimal property damage, she believed the authorities preferred to drop the matter rather than dedicate resources to an investigation that would likely be obstructed from the outset. Erica exhaled deeply. Despite all the upheaval, both she and Peter still needed to work. Homes required cleaning, and employers needed to be driven to their workplaces. Their busy schedules meant they rarely saw each other during the week. I suppose that's just how life is, she thought. As if she could read her mind, Peter remarked, "It's going to be a long week. When can we meet up again?" "Probably not until Friday. Brady has an award ceremony on Wednesday. I took some time off for that, so my schedule will be tight for the rest of the week." "The engineering scholarship presentation?" She smiled. "Yes. Did he tell you?" "He asked me to attend. He also mentioned it would alleviate a lot of financial pressure for you." "It does." I congratulated him. Unfortunately, the ceremony coincides with when I need to drive Amanda to one of her appointments. Brady was understanding and said we could hang out afterward. Erica leaned against him. "I'm happy you and he are getting along so well. He's a great kid. He had a wonderful mother to raise him." Peter wrapped his arm around her shoulder and gave it a gentle squeeze. Feeling content, Erica sighed. There was a knock at the door. Peter frowned. "I wonder who that could be." He walked to the entrance. Aware that she was only wearing a shirt, Erica stayed back. She heard brief conversations before the door shut, and Peter returned, looking puzzled. He held an envelope. She pointed. "What's that?" "Courier delivery. I'm not sure what it is, but it's addressed to both of us." Erica's instincts went on high alert. "Who would know we're together?" "Let's find out." He took out a knife, carefully slit the envelope open, and poured out the contents. A folded sheet of paper and a smaller envelope fell out. Peter unfolded the page and held it up so they could read it together. To Erica and Peter. "We regret that we can't address this openly. We'd love to express our thanks to the individuals who informed us about our spouses' infidelities. However, given the ongoing litigation and the lengthy court proceedings for both our divorces, not to mention the police investigation concerning the illegal fireworks set off in a residential area, it's best to keep this confidential. We trust you, understand how deeply we value loyalty and wish to reward it. Rest assured, once everything is settled and our finances are no longer under scrutiny, both of you can expect a raise and enhanced benefits. While we had suspicions, we never thought our unfaithful spouses would be so audacious or disrespectful, so thank you for bringing this to our attention and enabling us to prepare an appropriate response. We can't condone the fireworks, whoever set those off." Erica blushed, but Peter smirked and said, "They know. They're just covering themselves." She nodded and continued reading. In the meantime, we want to acknowledge your efforts. Please accept this small token of our gratitude, and please keep it confidential until we can discuss this more openly. With respect and thanks, E.B. and A.W. Peter said, Edward Blanton and Amanda Wallace, I presume. Erica picked up the small envelope. What's this? He handed her the letter opener, handle first. You do the honors? She opened it and found 2 slips of paper. Pay to the order of... She gasped. Peter frowned. What? Erica's hands shook. Peter, these are checks for $50,000 each. What? He took the checks from her. This is unbelievable. It's quite a bonus. Maybe, he said, taking her hand, bringing it to his lips and kissing it. But it means your financial worries with Brady are over. As the realization set in, Erica couldn't help herself. A smile spread across her face, and her eyes filled with tears. She clutched the check to her chest. I never expected this. I just wanted to do the right thing and help. Me too. Who knew there'd be a prize at the end of this road? She squeezed his hand and kissed his cheek. I found so much more than that. His smile in return made her heart race again. Erica laughed and said, Okay, let's finish these sandwiches. Peter lifted her into his arms, making her giggle. Forget dinner. If my time with you is limited, I know how I want to spend it. Content, she nestled her head into the crook of his neck as he carried her down the hall. Her stomach rumbled and she laughed again. Quiet. I'll feed you later. There are more important things right now. Peter carried her into the bedroom and gently closed the door.